Greetings, guys and ghouls, and welcome back to the podcast where we talk about all things spooky, dial H for horror.
I am your ghostess with the mostest, Shay.
And I am your favorite final girl, Gina. We have a clown to talk about.
Exactly. And Gina has been waiting for this moment for a long time. For those of you who are listening to us on Spotify, you cannot see that she has the sunglasses on her head.
I'm trying. It's not going on.
Oh no, I was like, it's also not in frame.
Oh, well, everything's going well then.
Oh, there we go.
We're professional.
We're professional here. The setup took us forever.
Yeah. Wow, this is really not going in my head right now. Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourself. Yeah, so Terrifier.
Yeah, art. Well, actually, you know what? This is a good time while I'm sitting here messing with my head.
I was going to say, yeah.
This is a good time to talk about the fact that we just got back from Spooky Empire Con in Orlando, Florida. So, woohoo.
Yep, literally on Friday.
We had a good time. Yeah, we only went for one day. We were there on Friday. It was the first horror convention we ever went to. Glasses are on my head.
Yay.
But it was like really nice. I liked the con. It was a bit of a smaller con. We're used to more like mega con and like slightly bigger.
I've been to like Florida Super Con, and
that's
was
another
massive.
one that we've been to. Yeah. So, you know, this one was a bit smaller, but I really liked it. I love the community was great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody was just out there sharing their art, sharing their love for horror. A quick moment, we did see Wally.
Yeah, remember? So we talked about Welcome Home briefly on here, but we also talked about it in our Patreon. There were some. I don't want to say kids. I don't know if they were actually kids.
There were some amazing cosplayers.
There were amazing cosplayers. They were dressed up as characters from Welcome Home, and one of them was dressed up as Wally, and he asked me how to use a chainsaw.
Yeah, because you saw him, you're like, Wally! And he was holding someone's chainsaw in that moment. He's like, hey, neighbor, how do you use this? And I'm like, oh my god, you're in character.
I loved it. So big ups to them for that.
Yeah.
And the very great part about the Spooky Empire Con was they had the people from Terrifier there and the Terrifier panel,
and it was A1. It was a really good panel. I really enjoyed it.
It was a very good panel.
Basically, I am now a member of the David Howard Thornton Protection Squad.
Same.
That is my son.
I was like laughing because I watched this movie Terrifier the night before we went to the con, because I was like, well, first of all, I have to watch it for the podcast because we're doing that on Sunday, but also we're going to be there tomorrow. Her friends really love the movie Terrifier. She really loves the movie Terrifier. So I'm like, I know they're going to want to see the panel at least. If we don't go and try to meet any of them, I know we're going to want to see the panel at least. And I got to know what's going on. So it was funny because I watched the movie. I see Art the Clown. I'm like, oh yeah, he's cool. You know, I see why everybody loves him so much. Like he's kind of comedic while he's doing all this really awful stuff. And then we get there to the con and like we're watching the panel and they bring out David Howard Thornton. And I'm like, he looks like a science teacher. I love it. Like he just looks like somebody that if you saw him on the street, you would not imagine that this is the role that he's defined by. Like,
yes,
this is his role. Like I'm like, that's crazy because and then you hear him talking and you see like the way he acts and you're like, yeah, now I kind of
giving art. He
like,
has a lot of that goofy personality.
Yeah.
And
he just seems like he's a very cool guy. He seems like he's very chill. I mean, very tall, very skinny, but like he just kind of looks like he would be teaching you about the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. He looks like that's what he'd be teaching you. So,
exactly.
And I kind of lost it when he said he was a camp counselor at one point in his life. I was like, I knew it. I could tell.
Of course you were a camp counselor.
But yeah, no, he seems like he's a solid guy. So
absolutely.
I was all about him. I was like, you know what? You're all right. You can stay.
Just most chill cast ever. The director was also on the stage. His name is Damien Leone. Freaking cool dude.
Yeah.
Just love how chill he is.
Mm-hmm.
Just willing to share information. I mean, of course, within reason, and he even said it himself. But just like he was just so chill, talking about hanging out with Pete Davidson and doing like a private viewing of Terrifier 2.
Davidson now. I was like, yeah, it's so cool. It was a really cool panel. They all were really cool, and I haven't seen Terrifier 2 yet, but you know that's mostly what they were focused on at the panel. But they didn't spoil anything,
which was awesome. I love that they didn't spoil anything.
I mean, I know a lot of what happens because I just read people's reactions.
Absolutely, a lot of folks are talking about it.
And it's cool. Like I have mad respect for the fact that they are finally kind of getting their due because I've heard of this movie years ago. In fact, it was on my watch list for a very long time, like that and like All Hallows Eve, which now I'm iffy on watching it because David is not Art in that movie. I didn't know that.
So, yeah. I didn't know that either.
Art in that movie, But I had that on my list for a very long time to watch Terrifier because I was like, yeah, you know, it looks like it'll be a good time to watch, you know, for a while. And I didn't know anything about it. Then I started seeing like some YouTube channels talk about it and talk about like the gore in the first Terrifier. And then when Terrifier 2 came out, I kept seeing all those articles of people like throwing up in the theater and passing out and having to be wheeled out by the ambulance. And I'm like, what the heck is happening in this movie? Like, I don't know. I've never gotten sick watching a movie. Like, I'll feel sick, but I've never gotten sick.
Physically be sick.
Yeah. I mean, like, the only time I can say close was like watching Cloverfield, but that's because of the shaky cam.
I was gonna say that's a whole other.
Yeah, that's because of the shaky cam. That's because it was like, whoa, and I'm like, that's the only time. Like, that's just like motion sickness. Like, yeah, I might get like nauseated, but I mean, I saw Evil Dead Rise, and like there was a lot of gross stuff happening there, and I was just like, that's gross.
Yeah,
I'm a little nauseous now, but it's fine. Now I'm thinking about my Wendy's burger on the way home, so I'll be fine. I'll be good.
So hungry right now.
Same.
But yeah, no, it's yeah, I just really appreciate this movie. I appreciate what they're doing. And I appreciate the fact just Damien said it himself, that Terrifier, he wants to keep it exactly what it is. You know, I don't even know how to explain it. It just
the fact to keep it indie.
Yeah, it's indie, it's camp.
Yeah.
It's you know, off the wall, it's unrated. You never know what to expect. And I really appreciate that he's staying within those parameters and that it means just as much to him as it does to the community that loves his movies.
Absolutely. I agree.
So he's like up there now. But let's talk Terrifier.
Let's talk Terrifier.
Terrifier is a slasher film written and directed by the horror king of Staten Island, Damien Leone. This movie stars Jenna Canel, Samantha Scafidi, Catherine Corcoran, and the amazing David Howard Thornton. Terrifier first released at the Telluride Horror Film Festival in October 2016. It was later picked up by the Dread Central Presents and Epic Pictures for a limited theatrical release in March of 2018. The movie opens with a talk show segment displayed on a small TV screen where we can see the interview going on of a woman who is the sole survivor of a massacre that took place 1 year ago on Halloween. In the interview, the host, Monica Brown, mentions that the killer, Art the Clown, disappeared from the morgue, which leads us to believe that he is still alive and roaming the streets today. After we see the TV get kicked in by a mysterious someone, we get a quick get ready with me video from Art as we watch him. I wrote the script and I forgot that I left the get ready with me part in there.
Oh my
so
God.
Sorry to everyone. That was supposed to sound a lot more cheeky than it did, but yeah, Art does himself a little get ready with me video. We just watch him put on his makeup, cowl, and hat. And we also get to see him load up his bags with all of his weapons and tools that he will use tonight on his murderous rampage. We are greeted with Tara and Dawn, who are headed back to their car after having a fun night at a Halloween party. They both agree that they are too drunk to drive, and they decide to go get some pizza nearby, and that is when they turn to see Art standing on the side of the road watching them.
Before we get into the next part, I just gotta say, Art has some dirty ass tools.
I knew you were gonna say it. That's why I didn't even write it in there.
Just like I said, Art has some dirty ass tools.
He don't care.
I know he doesn't care, but I was like, that was the first thing out of my mouth when I watched it. I was like, he was putting them in the bag, and I'm like, you don't even wash those. They're still covered in blood and guts from the last people you killed. How they're gonna be dull. Like, you should at least like wash them, clean them, sharpen them. Like, they're gonna be dull. What if you can't saw a person like properly or like stab somebody properly? Like,
Art just figured if his attack can't kill a person, hopefully the tetanus will.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
It's a little extra scare. Like,
a little extra scare. Like, they're like, oh, I got stabbed, but I think I'll be all right. Oh, God.
Oh, it's a staph infection. You know, that's just Art's way. That's how he runs. Art don't care. Okay,
he does not care. That's the one thing you gotta know about Art the Clown. He does not care.
My boy don't care one bit. He's like, wash the weapons. Why would I do that?
Now, why would I do that?
They're more murderous when they're dirty. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I mean, I'm with him on that one.
Yes, exactly.
You know, it really, Michael Myers, why are you washing your weapons? Jason? Freddy?
To be fair, Michael Myers just finds new weapons in other people's houses. He's just like, oh, there's a knife here. Thanks. You already cleaned this for me. I don't have to do anything.
Like, wow, this one's nice and clean. That's good. But okay, so yeah, the girls, of course, they agree that they're both too drunk to drive. They need to sober up a bit, so they decide to go over into the pizza shop, sit on down, and wait for their order to be taken. And they're kind of talking about the creepy clown that they saw outside, and
he was mean mugging them.
He was mean mugging
across the street. He was just like glaring.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, boy, fix your face.
I know, Art working that side eye a little too hard.
Like they just over here like at their car, like chill. Why are you staring at them like that? And it's like, oh, because you want to murder them. Okay.
Yeah, right. You just saw people and you're like, oh, yeah, they'll do.
You thought you would have some delight in his face, but no, he's just like he looks at them as though they're like offending his existence by just standing there. Like, excuse me, like, hello, how dare you stand by your car?
The thing is Art does not like when you dress up as like, let's say, and I'm using air quotes for those listening, but like the slutty scarecrow for Halloween. Art wants to see you dress up as a scarecrow for Halloween. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Okay. I'll make sure that I wear the right costume.
I won't. I'll wear whatever I want. Art, you can't stop me. But yeah, so the girls are talking, and then of course here comes Art.
Into the pizzeria he comes.
And this scene is what made me fall in love with Art originally when I first saw the movie, because I didn't know what to expect from this guy. I'm like, all right, we got this wannabe Pennywise stepping up in here. Sure, okay, you'll float too, whatever.
And then he, like, the whole entire time, Tara is, like,
she's mean mugging him.
Completely unnerved, which I don't blame her, because, like, if you saw this clown while you're, like, at your car trying to figure out what you're going to do next, like, walk into the same pizzeria, like, just taking out the fact that he's a murderous clown, you're going to think in the back of your mind, what's this man trying to do? Like, you're going to get that instant woman instinct where you're like, okay, I got to put my keys between my fingers and be ready.
True.
And so she's like looking at him, and her friend is like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, Dawn is so chill. She's like,
he's fine, but he's just staring at them. And Tara's staring back. It's kind of romantic. They're staring at each other from across the room.
across the restaurant. They lock eyes.
And then Art starts.
He starts being Art,
he starts clowning.
He's doing a whole clown right now. He's over here. He's smiling. He's resting his head on his hands and smiling at her, and just like, oh, you're such a dreamboat, giving him those eyes, you know,
smiling, like doing a little wave, like doing this little finger, like wave where he's like moving every finger all at once. Mm-hmm. It is a great bit of like character acting. They did say that David Howard Thornton has miming experience. Yeah, so you can definitely tell. He's like I think that's what makes the movie so great. Like, I know some people will say, oh, it's the blood, guts, and gore, but I think it's his ability.
It's David
because Art is a silent character. He doesn't make noise. He doesn't speak anything. Like, doesn't do any of that. So I think his acting, his facial expressions, the way that he like uses his body is what makes the movie so entertaining to watch. So even when he's doing something as simple as like sitting there and smiling and like batting his eyes and like the big grin, like it's funny, it's creepy, and it's like you love it at the same time. It's all those things. It's like, exactly. If I was sitting there, I would be disgusted, but at the same time, like if this was real and this was happening to me, I'd be disgusted. At the same time, watching this, I'm like, I love this. Like, you're so good, dude. Like, you're so good at what you do. In that moment,
you're like, oh man, this guy's a sicko.
Yeah, you're like, he's a sicko. Yeah.
No, you just see like he's such a sicko, and like you start to get a real feel for his character, and just like the fact that this guy's off the wall. He's gonna do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really good foreshadowing for people who maybe like. If I were to tell somebody to watch Terrifier, I'd be like, if you're looking at Art the Clown in the beginning of the movie in the pizzeria, just know it only gets worse from there.
Yeah,
because you just the way he smiles and everything like that. He's not your typical average everyday murder clown.
He's not the normal killer clown. He's just like he's amped up a bit.
Yeah.
And I think for the fact that he doesn't speak, I think that adds to it so much, because he has to be so expressive.
Yeah.
Pennywise, he can go ahead and deliver a one-liner in that voice, and we're all like, whoa.
Really? Oh yeah.
But in the case of Art, he has to be so animated, and it's both entertaining and at the same time you're like, oh, if I was sitting in this pizzeria right now and this guy was doing this, I would
be comfortable with it. I would be like, we gonna die tonight.
Yeah, we ain't gonna make it out of this.
And it makes me uneasy because if I see people walking around in that costume, I'm like, I don't know what your intentions are. I don't want to experience anything that they experienced in this movie. So please, don't be crazy.
Don't be crazy. Don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid. Like, David would not approve.
No, he wouldn't.
He would not approve.
He would not
allow
it. So basically Tara's still staring at him. He's still joking around with Tara, basically. And Dawn's like, oh my gosh, get over it. And she's like, she gets up and walks over to Art. And she's like, hey. And, like, you know, kind of like nudging him and stuff. And she's like, can I get a picture? And Art, the whole time, he has just the most angry expression. And he's focused in on Tara. And he's not even paying attention to Dawn at all. And so she goes ahead. She sits on his lap and everything. She's taking selfies. She goes ahead and takes his little hat and pulls it back and smacks it against his nose and everything. And Art is just, he's not changing his expression at all. She gets up and, you know, kind of like hits him on the nose, like, thanks, you know, like flirty with him. And Tara's like, girl, you stupid.
That's the moment I would be like, take her, leave me. I didn't do that. See, look, I didn't do that. I just respected your space.
Exactly. I sat here.
Leave me.
And I did not do
Here,
that.
I'll give you her. Hands are over.
Yeah, she could go home with you. She could go home with you.
Yeah, whatever murder dungeon you got, take her to it.
Take her to it, because clearly she wants to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Foreshadowing. So she sits back down. Next, the pizza guy comes over to take his order. Art is still not moving. He's not taking his eyes off the Tara. He's still got the angry look on his face. In those moments, Art definitely looks really, really scary, which I like, that this face can look both hilarious and scary. So kudos to the character designers for Art.
Yes.
But of course the guy's like, you know, I can't deal with this dude, and he walks away, you know.
He asks if they're like, if the guy's bothering them.
Yeah.
And they're like, no.
Yeah.
No, which I would have been like, yes, he's bothering me.
He's absolutely bothering us.
And then get out of there while he's killing while Art's killing those two guys. Get out.
Yeah. Because then Art, he also gets up and he goes over to the little like ring machine.
The little machine where they have those, like, they always have like those random toys and stuff like that.
Yeah, he goes ahead and he grabs the coin all in an animated way and everything, and he puts it in the machine, and he gets a little ring out, and he goes over and he gets down on one knee and he proposes to Tara, and she's like, oh.
I would have said yes just so I could get out of the situation.
I'd be like, thank you.
I'd be like, oh, thanks. Looks at my finger like, it's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. You're so nice. Hey, that might have saved your life. That might have saved you. You just go along with it. He might have been like, I got a wife now. Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's like, I'm settling down.
Here, I'm gonna bring you body parts.
Yeah,
like a cat. Like when they bring you like a dead animal. Like, here.
So you know, he's just you know, he's working his magic on Tara. Dawn thinks that this is amazing. She's telling Tara, like, this is the most a man has ever done for you, so maybe you should just appreciate it.
Dang, that's cold.
Tara, get real friends. Get real friends.
That's rough.
And then Art goes ahead and he makes his way to the bathroom. A few minutes later, we do see the guy throw Art out of the pizzeria. He even goes ahead and grabs Art's giant trash bag, throws it at him, and you know, Art's still just being Art the whole time. He's just, you know, making his little clown faces,
waving, and he flicks the guy off.
Yeah, that was also good. So the girls who leave the pizzeria now, they head over to the car and they see that the tire is slashed. So now they're like, great, how are we going to get home? They decide to call Tara's sister, Vicky, and see if she can give them a ride home. Vicky is currently studying for one of her final exams the next day. And she's got to be up in like 5 hours or so to, you know, take her test. And so, of course, Tara's like, oh, no, it's okay. You don't have to worry about it. And in that moment is when Vicky's roommate comes in. She's like, oh, I didn't know you were here. Proceeds to walk into the room and hook up with random guy. And it's like, dude, I'm sitting right here. Yep. And so Vicky's like, yeah, I'll see you guys. I'll come pick you up. No problem at all. We then pan back over to the pizzeria, where pizza guys are cleaning up the aftermath of what happened in the bathroom. And we see why Art was kicked out. He had an accident.
I don't think it was an accident. He wrote his name with that accident. He wrote his name with that accident.
He had to go.
Who writes their name with their accident?
He couldn't make it in time, so he made it into art.
Literally.
But so yeah, they're cleaning it up. And it's not the owner who's cleaning it up, but
the guy
actually
that makes the pizzas.
Yeah, the guy who prepares the food.
And he's like very angry, and he's like,
I would be too.
Like, you know, yeah, no. I would have quit right then and there. If my boss told me to go clean that up, I would have walked in the bathroom and been like, I don't need this job.
Yeah, no.
Like, there's not much you could pay me to clean up that mess.
That mess was
rough.
Mm-mm.
Some of it looked like it was blood too. So
yeah.
I'm like, Art, you need to get that checked out. Some of it looked like it was blood. I'm like, Art, please, are you okay?
Yeah, like I said, he's going through something. But he comes out of the bathroom when he's finally done cleaning it, and still pissed off about having to clean it. And he heads back into the kitchen, and he's just kind of rambling on about how he's angry and he's pissed off at his boss, and realizes his boss isn't listening to him. So he turns around, and his boss's head is sitting on the counter, and it is actually lit up like a jack-o'-lantern.
Carved like a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah.
It's got the triangles, and then the smile, it's carved like a jack-o'-lantern.
And there's some candles going in there, too. It was really cute.
Now I know where Michael Myers got it from. Halloween 2018, because he did the same thing.
Exactly. So, it's a little arts and crafts for you there.
He had a lot of time to do that. He made the time to sit there and just do it.
He works fast. He works real fast. So, of course, he's terrified from seeing that, and Art appears behind the severed head of the boss, and, then Art just goes in, and he starts stabbing homeboy. I don't know his name, so...
Yeah, I don't know his name either. So.
I'm going to call the boss Pizza Guy 1 and him Pizza Guy 2. So he starts stabbing Pizza Guy 2 to death. He's going in on it. And we just kind of see, how much of a sicko Art is and what we have in store for the rest of this movie.
Yeah, it's just tame in comparison.
Yeah, exactly. This is, the most chill death.
For real.
But moving back over to Tara and Dawn,
Tara realizes she has to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, she has to go potty.
There's no place to go to the bathroom because it's really, really late. And she's afraid to go back to the pizzeria, but she probably was better off not going back to the pizzeria.
No, yeah. I would have to agree there. So in that moment, there's a building, next to where their car is parked, and some guy steps out the building to have a cigarette, and Dawn just kind of, jokes offhandedly, and she's just like, well, why don't you go ask him to see if he'll let you in to use the bathroom? And Tara's like, bet. And Dawn's like, girl, you crazy. And I'm just sitting here like, Tara, you just sat in a killer clown's lap a minute ago,
Dawn.
taking pictures. I said Tara.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops, Dawn. But Dawn, you're crazy.
I know, you're crazier. She's going into a building with a guy to use the bathroom.
Yeah. So I don't really know what she's thinking there, but she goes over and asks the guy, and the guy's kind of apprehensive because he doesn't actually live at the building. We find out he's actually the pest control guy who's there to fumigate the building, and he finally lets her in after a little bit of a back and forth. And upon entering, Tara learns that the building is currently having a rat problem, and it's no wonder because it's absolutely disgusting in this building. I don't know who lives here. I don't know how much that rent is. Well, it better be cheap.
We know one of the people that live there, or at least.
We do know one, but she ain't paying rent.
No.
Meanwhile, Dawn's waiting for Tara in the car, and she's just, taking some more selfies. And she hears a report on the radio that the two men that were working at the pizza restaurant were just brutally murdered. The description given of the killer is a tall, skinny man wearing a black and white clown suit. Understandably getting creeped out, she is then relieved when she hears the car door open, thinking that Tara is getting back into the car. But she turns her head and finds that it's actually Art sitting in the passenger seat next to her instead. And Art thinks it's hilarious, of course.
He thinks it's hilarious.
and they cut away in that moment, and so we don't know what happens right then and there. We're brought back over to Tara. And let me find my spot in the script because, you know, I'm so profesh. Also, the script was completely done in speech to text, so I'm struggling because I'm seeing all of my grammatical errors and everything now. So, hashtag so professional. But heading back over to Tara's perspective, she is now lost in, she's lost after leaving the bathroom and runs into a squatter that's living in the building carrying a baby doll. I actually find it funny because in the credits of the movie, the squatter is named Cat Lady. And I don't know why they didn't just call me to do the role for them.
Right?
Like, I'm here, y'all. I could have done it.
It's interesting, too, because she has a baby doll, so it's kind of like, why was she named Cat Lady?
There's like one singular cat that doesn't even hang out with her.
No, you just hear the cat, like, meowing, and then you see it, like, once.
Yeah, but she's credited as Cat Lady, so we just kind of have to roll with it.
Baby doll lady.
Baby doll lady. So she quickly makes up an excuse to the lady that she needs to go find the landlord because the lady's assuming that, oh, maybe she's the new tenant in the building. But she skips out on the conversation, and it doesn't take too long until she runs into our favorite icon, Art, again. And we get our first chase scene of the movie here.
It's a beautiful moment where like, I thought this was like, it's probably one of my favorite moments in the whole movie. Like, there's two moments I just absolutely love. They both happen in this general like time frame.
Okay.
But like when Tara is leaving like the room talking to the cat lady and so trying to find her way out of the building, they just do the shot where she walks out of a door and then she just stops. And you're only seeing her right now. And she stops and she looks horrified. And then Art is just frozen there with like this shocked expression on his face. And it's like the way they cut it was like so comedic to me.
It was so
because
good.
Like it's just like she's standing there, she's terrified, and it just cuts to him and he's just like he's frozen. And then he just starts running after her.
Yeah, and he just starts moving, and he's got a little scalpel in his hand too, and he's holding it all daintily and everything.
Like, it's like I guess it's because of like the way he's posed. It's not that he's standing there and he's all menacing with like a machete or a knife, like if it was like a Michael Myers. It's like he's got a little scalpel and he's just holding it all dainty, like, oh
yeah,
you caught me. Like,
oh no.
Oh no, whatever shall I do? You caught me with a scalpel. Like, I don't know, it cracked me up. I was literally like good. Laughing so hard at that part. I was just like, oh my god, it was like so funny.
It was so good, just the way that they framed it and everything. And so we move into the chase scene. Tara's running for her life. Art's chasing her, and we get to a point where it's kind of like one of those Jurassic Park kind of moments where she's hiding behind something.
And she's like waiting. She's watching him go by.
Yeah, and she's waiting to see where he goes, and she's like kind of catching her breath for a second.
She's like, oh, I'm doing so great.
Yeah, she's like, wow, I'm really killing this final girl thing.
And
Art goes ahead and he like stabs her in the leg, or
he stabs her in like the ankle, like the Achilles heel.
Yeah, basically.
Achilles heel. And it's a really good scene because really good part because like you think he's like over there, and he's like on the other side, and she's just like looking, and then all of a sudden you just see the knife go into her leg, and then she turns around and he's just there, and then he's like, he just looks so delighted. He's like, yay, I got the leg.
I don't know. That's really satisfying other than an ASMR, you know? Like, I don't know.
And he stabs her like multiple times in the leg, in different spots, thankfully, but multiple times in the leg. So there goes that leg.
There goes that leg. That leg ain't coming back. So yeah, she's then captured by Art, and she wakes up shortly after, and she's now tied up in a chair with duct tape over her mouth, you know, kind of typical thing.
Yeah, mouth and hands, ankles, all that's duct taped.
Yeah, she's all completely bound, and there's a curtain up in the corner, and we don't know what's behind curtain number 1 just yet. And Art comes around, and, you know, he starts to do like a little bit of I'm gonna stab you. No, just kidding.
Yeah, he keeps doing that to her, like,
and, you know, she's like absolutely scared for her life, crying. And Art's like, this is great. Like,
I love this.
Like, aren't you having fun yet?
But Tara's not his target for this scene.
No, she is not at all. Because behind curtain number 1, folks, we have Dawn.
hanging from a ceiling. This is actually the most talked about scene from this movie.
Yeah.
Before I had even seen this movie, pretty much everyone I knew had told me about this scene.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a good reason why. There's a good reason why. Hopefully you're not eating while you listen to this.
Yeah. So Dawn is tied up upside down with all of her limbs spread apart. She is topless, and Art does walk over to her and he removes her underwear as well. So she is fully naked, and this is a full frontal nude scene for you all. In case you go to watch it and you're not cool with that. And Tara is, of course, afraid for her friend. Her friend is, of course, afraid for herself. And then Art picks up a hacksaw, and he cuts her in half.
He saws her right down the middle, starting from the bottom half of your body, between the legs.
Yes. Okay. So she's not being cut horizontally; she's being cut vertically, and it is started at her core.
Yeah.
And he works his way down all the way to her head. So it's a freaking sick scene, just gonna say it.
It's very bloody, it's very gory. I mean, her intestines fall out.
Yeah, they just kind of slap right down on the floor.
I personally, it was something that like everybody was like, oh, it's so disgusting, it's so nasty. And it was something that like when I watched it, I was like, you can totally tell that that's fake. Like, you can tell, like, her body, like, you can tell when she becomes, like, a dummy. Like, she's not a person anymore.
Well, yeah.
And I'm like, and it kind of, like, when I see that, it's like, it doesn't make me as nauseated as it does when it looks like, like, there's some movies where they'll use dummies, but it looks like real people. It's kind of like, it's Friday the 13th Part 3 when she squeezes the guy's head and the eyeball pops out, but it looks like it's like a dummy. It's really like a mannequin's head. And he's like, that part doesn't, everyone always talked about that part, like, oh, it's so disgusting. He squeezes the guy's head and his eye pops out. And I'm like, dude, it's literally like a mannequin's head and he squeezes it and the eyeball goes flying. Like, it's not that gross. Like, that's kind of how I felt about this scene when I was watching. I was like, man, y'all made it sound like this was like, like they did such a good job stitching it together, like that you can't see when she turns into like not an actual human. Like, no, that you could see the moment where she turns into a dummy. Like, even in when he's cutting her, like you could see the way the flesh, it just didn't look realistic. It was cool. I'm not taking that away, but I'm just talking about all the weaklings that were talking about they couldn't sit through the scene. They had to look away. I was like, I at first I was kind of like, oh yeah, I was like, because of where he started cutting her.
Yeah.
I was like, ow.
Yeah.
I was like, ow. And then when you started to realize that, okay, it's no longer a person. Now they're just cutting through like a dummy that they filled with organs and stuff like that. I was like, I don't feel like I'm going to throw up or pass out. Like, people were like, I couldn't watch it. I felt like I was going to puke when I watched it. And I'm like, I'm not knocking you if you did, I'm not knocking it. I understand, there are movies, I can't watch Hostel for many reasons because Hostel does that to me. And Saw, that's first Saw. Every Saw after that. every Saw after the first Saw. Does that to me where it's like just where I get a little nauseated and I'm like, oh, that looks a little too realistic when you're ripping that person's scalp off. Like, that's a little too realistic. But that one I was just like, because people hyped it up so much and they're talking about how disgusting it was, and it was gross, but it was like, it was sort of like, I guess you could say campy gore. Like, it reminded me, like, this movie kind of reminds me of like the original Evil Dead. Like with the gore and the violence. Like the original Evil Dead is so phony looking, and that's why I love it so much. It's very gory, very violent, but it's like so phony looking.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I appreciate this movie because it's like, it feels like the first Friday the 13th movie to me, where it's just like, it's so camp. It's just so camp, and it's so good. Camp in Friday the 13th because they're at camp.
I'm sorry, I'll see myself out.
But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I like the fact that it doesn't look too realistic, and same. It just adds to the whole vibe of the movie, the whole heart of the movie. I mean, you heard when we were talking about the movie before, I gave you my description of what the movie is. I don't think it's something I can say on here, but it feels
like an adult film.
It feels like an adult film with murder.
Yeah, and the acting is very adult film.
Yeah,
and bless their hearts, they all seem like they have a good time with it. So I'm not knocking them and saying they're bad actors or anything like that. Like, it's a cheesy movie in that respect.
Yeah, like, this movie is made with a $35,000 budget. It's a very small budget to work with in a movie, and it's not meant
to be like this deep, profound thing, or like
it ain't same odd.
Yeah, it's not meant to be like reinventing the wheel. So I'm like, you know what? Like, it was funny because I was like, oh, the acting is probably the hardest thing to get through in this movie, but like at the same time, I'm like, you know what? It's a low budget movie, and that's what low budget movies do.
Yeah,
that's how they be.
I mean, I have a huge love for like bad horror in general, but this was bad horror where it's so bad it's good. You know, like where other people are agreeing with me.
Yeah,
where other people.
It's like I don't even feel like it's bad in the sense. It's just the acting that's very like stilted at times, but it's fine because like it makes up for it in just like the fun you have when you're watching it.
Exactly. Like it's not an all-star cast, but like I like the cast. I like their delivery of the lines, and like without, if they went for an all-star cast, we would have never gotten David.
No,
we would have never gotten David.
And God knows who would have been playing Art. And
protect him.
Would have been like Johnny Depp or something.
Yeah, true. Which would have been probably cool to see, but like I
don't mind Johnny Depp. I'm just saying I don't want to see him as Art the Clown.
No. I just you said it, and I was like, oh, well, he's got good facial expressions.
He does have good facial expressions, but I'm like, we're good with David.
Yeah, no, with David. Yeah, exactly. David's top tier when it comes to this role for sure, and I can't wait to see other work he's in because he did talk about some other stuff he's going to be working on. Yeah. But anyways,
Dawn gets cut in half.
Dawn gets cut in half. That's basically
which is like bye because I didn't like her anyway. So
yeah. And then Tara, she breaks free from her,
her duct tape.
Her duct tape. I was gonna say her chains.
Her duct tape.
Duct tape.
I mean, you didn't duct tape it good. That was the only thing. All right, you didn't duct tape it well enough. Like she was able to just kind of like rip her arm up off of it and like just unbound herself. I'm like,
it's not like she's a really strong girl. Like
she's like a skinny little thing, and she just was like ripping. And it's like, dang, you could have used something else. You could have used like rope. You could have used anything, but you just didn't. You just used duct tape, and she was able to just be like, all right, we're good.
Maybe that's part of the game for Art, though.
Maybe he likes to chase.
Yeah, maybe he just doesn't care. That's what I would think is Art don't care. He don't care. He gonna get you anyways.
Yep, exactly.
Just like the movie don't have a big budget, Art doesn't have a big budget. You couldn't afford chains.
You couldn't afford rope.
You couldn't afford rope.
It's like I can get a roll of duct tape at Walmart. I'm good.
He's like, this will work.
That man walking through Walmart.
Mm-hmm. He's a DIY murderer.
Oh my god.
So Tara, makes a run for it. She grabs like a 2x4, which like kudos to you, girl.
I love this part of the movie so much.
She goes in, she takes that thing, whack! She is Art with it. She's in Art's head, knocks him over. Yeah. Art gets knocked out like for like a moment.
Yeah. She hits him again, like like a second.
Go ahead, you take the reins here. I know you love this scene.
No, I love this scene. This was like great. So this is supposed to be Tara's big like final girl moment. Like she's got the 2x4. She's ready to beat on this dude. And she hits him twice, and then she backs up, and she starts yelling, like, come on, get up, get up. I mean, she's cursing. I'm not going to do it because, but, like, she's cursing, she's screaming at him, get up. And this man just gets up and pulls out a gun and shoots her.
Art don't care, y'all. He don't care.
I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a slasher movie where the slasher just gets a gun and it's just like, blah, blah.
Art got that thing on him.
He got the thing on him. He stays strapped. Like,
he stays strapped.
I was not expecting that. The way I literally was almost in tears laughing. She was on the phone with me when I was watching this part. And she's talking to me, having this serious conversation. And it happens. And I just start laughing. I'm like, I'm not laughing at you. I promise. I said, he just pulled out a gun and shot her. And he was like, and she was like, yeah, he does that. I was like, that was so funny. Like, the comedic timing of that was impeccable. Like, Damien Leone, that was good, like, comedic timing. Because she's just like, so you can tell this is like her moment. This is her Nancy, her Laurie Strode, her Sydney. Like, come on, get up. And I'm like, girl, just go hit him again. Why are you going to yell at him?
She really thought she was hard.
If it was Sidney Prescott, she wouldn't even be talking to him. No. She was just like, bah, bah, bah. Like, she was just being like.
She thinks she ate.
She did. She was all happy. She thought she ate and she left no crumbs. She was like, come on. And he was just like, bah, and just took her out. I was dying. I was literally like doubled over, like tears in my eyes.
He Bugs Bunnied that freaking gun out of nowhere.
It was like it reminds me of that scene from Indiana Jones where the guy is like with the sword and he's like doing all the crazy tricks, and then Indy just takes the gun out and shoots it. That's exactly what the energy it gave me. It's like it's like when they have the memes, like two scenes that have the same energy. That's what I would use.
Ooh,
like literally, like that's the scene I would use. Is like him just like, and then Indy's just like, takes out his gun and shoots him, and then like Art just like, she's like, come on, let's go. I was done. I was like, I love this movie. That was great. That was so impeccable, perfect. Like,
it's so good.
And I should have asked that question like at the panel. I should have said, was that scene inspired by Indiana Jones? Because it was too like, Dang. It gave me that vibe. But I was like, I don't know what to ask them at the time. I didn't think of it till just now. I should have asked Damien and be like, what inspired that scene? Because that was the best scene ever in any movie.
Are they gonna be a Spookala?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. We'll find them again.
Maybe if they come to Spooky Empire again, like next year or something, we'll
find them again.
We'll find them again, and I'll ask them and be like, "Sir, what inspired that scene?" Because that had me rolling. That was beautiful. It was wonderful. I loved it.
I don't think that was the last time we're going to see that cast. So I think we're going to see them a lot.
Yeah, they've been there before too.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have that opportunity. Well then. Outside of the building, Vicky finally arrives to the scene of the crime. It's now 3 a.m. and she can't find her sister outside of the building. Sending a quick text to ask where she is, she receives a message and goes to the back of the building, or receives a message to go to the back of the building, excuse me. Obviously, it's Art who's messaging Vicky, which means that his vow of silence does not stretch to written communication.
So he can write you letters.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
He can write you a song.
Yeah, he just can't sing it. You have to get somebody else to sing it.
Yeah, that's when Pennywise steps in, you know. They start like a little like clown band. Pennywise. Literally the band Pennywise.
Pennywise, there you go.
I was gonna say a clown barbershop quartet.
Well, Art doesn't sing, so he can play an instrument in the back. But
I just, you know, because we got Bill Skarsgård Pennywise, we got
Tim Curry Pennywise,
and then whoever the new
Pennywise is gonna be.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, you know, I'm sure we got like I forget the name of that movie. It's like Snuggles or some crap like that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I've never seen it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to it. But yeah, so he quickly uses Tara's phone to take a selfie with Dawn's body and empties a few rounds in Tara's head, finishing her off too. I can't lie, Art looks like a total badass in this scene, but then we're reminded of who he actually is when he notices the cat lady watching him, and he gives her his iconic smile and wave. Oh, cat lady. I put oh, cat lady, that's funny. But anyways, the cat lady runs to find Mike, the pest control guy, and tell him that he needs to call 911 immediately. But of course, Mike ain't hearing any of this and thinks that she's insane and pushes her away. Oh, Mike, don't you know you're not supposed to put your hands on a woman?
Nope.
It's okay, though, because he does get his shortly after when Art hits him in the head with a hammer in the stairwell. Felt like Clue there for a minute. It's Art with a hammer in the stairwell. So yeah, Mike's down. We cut back to Cat Lady.
It's also Art destroyed his phone.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because he was on a phone call.
Yeah, he was on a phone call trying to call his homie to come show up to the building, and then Art was like, "Nope," with the hammer.
Yeah, hits him in the head with the hammer, and I guess Art thought maybe he killed the friends like by smashing the phone with the hammer. I don't know what Art was thinking. He just
either that he just wanted to end the line of communication. Like, no, don't listen to what I'm doing. Shut up.
Yeah, like,
be
go away. You know, but also like maybe Art would want him to come because Art likes chaos.
Maybe.
But we cut over to Cat Lady, who has to. She runs back over to find her dear sweet baby doll, which is now missing from the carriage. She's like, where's my baby and everything. I'll be honest with you, I don't really get this whole part of the movie personally with Cat Lady. I appreciate her, but I don't really get this whole bit. But she goes down the hallway and she sees Art sitting there and he's cradling the baby in his hands, and she walks over and is pleading with him to give her the baby back, and she's saying, you know, haven't you ever felt a mother's touch? Don't you know what it's like to be loved? Like those kinds of things. And she starts to rest her hand on Art's cheek, which he starts to lean into, kind of
like rubs his cheek against her hand like a cat does. Like,
yeah,
he's like it reminded me of my cat, honestly.
Yeah,
like he kind of does that a little bit, where he just like rubs his head like in her hand and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's like feels the comfort, you know. Cute. He's putting his scent on her, you know, his pheromones. And then she begins to comfort him a bit more, and Art starts kind of rocking himself and sucking his thumb.
Yeah.
again, maybe I'm just uncultured here, but I don't get it.
I think it was supposed to be like her trying to reach him on like that level of like, you know, oh, maybe all he needs is love and he'll stop doing this. Like, he'll stop hurting people, because she knew he was hurting people, obviously. And I think Art just leaned into it because he's crazy. So he was just like, all right, I'll go along with it.
I was going to say, because I know Art didn't care about her.
No, he didn't care.
Because in the next scene, we find out what happens to Cat Lady.
Yes.
So first, before we get there, we got to talk about our girl, Vicky, really quick. She finally makes it to the basement.
Yes.
Poor Vicky. She's just like, I got a test in the morning.
I'm tired. I got to do this whole thing going through the basement and all that stuff. Although technically, to be fair, she wasn't told necessarily to go inside the building. She just go around to the back, and then she just took it upon herself to go inside of the building.
She's just like, where's Vicky?
She could have just sat outside and tried to wait for Tara. Like, I mean, I guess if it's your sibling, you're gonna go in and try to find them. But like, I would have just sat outside.
I mean, she definitely was over it. She was like, Tara, come on now.
Like, I don't have time for these games.
Like, get in the car. So we gotta go.
These games. Anyways.
Jonas Brothers reference.
Snuck them in there.
So yeah, she finally makes her way down to the basement. She's kind of stumbling around, trying to figure out where the heck she is. Because I will be honest, this apartment complex feels more like a maze. It feels more like a dungeon.
Yeah, I don't know who was living there, because it didn't even look like, even though it was like a dilapidated building, it didn't even look like it was ever an apartment complex.
No, or I guess apartment building, since this is a city. Yeah, but
it didn't even look like it was ever one.
No, it felt weird. It felt really weird. But she goes ahead and she finds who she assumes is Tara on the ground, dead. And I only say assumes because the face is down into the ground, and you know, she starts trying to call 911 and everything. She's comforting Tara, rubbing her bare back. I just have to bring that up too. Yes, you'll know why. And then she looks over, and Cat Lady is laying on the ground, no scalp, wig was snatched. And so was the scalp. And chest was snatched.
Yeah.
Her
the breasts were gone.
They were gone. And she's, you know, looking at her, calling for help. Yeah, I don't know how. Alive. Girl, at that point I would have
just told him to finish me off.
I would have held my breath or something. I gotta go. Bye.
Like, you took my weave. I'm good. You took my weave.
You took my weave. You took my chest. And then so Vicky's kind of confused, like, wait a minute. And she looks over, and my boy Art, he starts sitting up from the ground, and
he's wearing the lady's scalp and the lady's chest.
He's wearing her scalp, he's wearing her chest, and he got a little loincloth made out of her intestine. And obviously, anybody in this world, I don't care who you are, I don't care how strong you are, you would be scared.
Yeah.
You would be scared.
Oh, yeah.
This is a true sicko right here.
Like, this man's wearing clown makeup. He's naked, except for a loincloth made of intestines. He's wearing a woman's chest and her weave, essentially. But, like,
but not her weave. It's her scalp.
With her scalp attached.
So, she gets up. She's running for her life. And I'm like, go girl, get it, run.
And
Don't
Art
ever
was
look
doing
back.
Art was doing his audition tape for RuPaul's Drag Race, essentially.
Yes, he was. He was stumbling around. He was twirling the hair. He was like, "Oh my god, where?"
He's looking for Vicky, but Vicky, he's like, you know, he's miming, like, acting like a woman.
Yeah.
He's twirling the hair. He's like walking all like, you know,
feminine
dainty and stuff like that. Like, I was just like, dang, okay, Art, I see you. Like,
I see you, Art.
Slay.
Honestly,
like, you already slayed a lot tonight, but slay again.
Work that runway, Art. Work that runway. Who are you wearing? Cat Lady? Oh, cute.
Who are you wearing? My god.
He was walking around, he was like, have you seen my earring? He was giving Kim Kardashian.
Oh my god, he was.
So yeah, she's running for her life, and he basically chases her. She goes and hides in a locker. Yeah, and she's kind of like
Dead by, I kept saying Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, exactly, because it was the view of her looking through the little hole in the locker. And so she's looking and looking, and then suddenly you see like Art pop up, which I'm just laughing because like he pops up, but he's also still has the hair on his head.
Yeah. And he laughs at the locker because he knows she's in there.
Yeah.
But he chooses to walk away because, you know.
Yeah, he gets distracted because he hears the other pest control guy show up.
Yes, this stupid guy.
We don't know his name, so he's Pest Control Guy 2. For the sake of this, I did not look up his name.
It's okay.
But
he's just the pest control guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy that Mike was talking to on the phone.
Yeah.
That just took it upon himself to show up to the building, and it's like he didn't say anything on the phone, and it's like you could have like gone there in the morning, like
True.
you know. I don't know how their dynamics are for the job they work, but at the same time, I'm like,
this ain't truly Nolan.
No, I don't. He's doing a late night fumigation, and I don't know, man. I just wouldn't have shown up. I'd be like, they don't pay me enough for this.
But yeah, so Art, he goes ahead and he gets to jump on Pest Control Guy 2 from behind, and he like what's he doing?
He saw start sawing his head off.
He goes ahead. I thought he stabbed him in the head first.
He stabbed him in the head first, and then he starts sawing his head off.
Yeah, so he just basically decapitates this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. He had like the knife in the top of his head.
Yeah,
and
that was right. Yeah,
it.
he had the knife in the top of his head.
And so like in the end, it kind of looked like a candied apple to me personally.
Yeah, it did kind of look like that. I also have to say, I was watching this movie on Tubi because that's where it's available right now to watch, and Tubi has commercials because it's free. And it was always funny because every time it would switch to commercial, it would be like a car commercial or something like that. And it always switched to commercial at like the weirdest times. Well, after this scene where he slowly decapitates a man and holds his head up and then also kind of licks the blood of the bottom, it switched to a commercial of Martha Stewart.
Yeah, it's just a scene, and then it goes, "Hi, I'm Martha Stewart."
I was cracking up so hard at that because I was like, "What a total shift!" It just went from like Art slowly decapitating somebody to "Hi, I'm Martha Stewart."
It's like, dang, Martha, I know you went to jail, but
it's a little hard for you.
This is hard for you. Yes, sorry, that was a really funny moment.
No, it's okay.
We go back over to see where Vicky is. She comes out of the locker. She's looking around, kind of assessing the area for a moment. And she looks over, and Art's over here doing his Billy the Puppet impression.
Riding on a freaking tricycle.
He's just going in circles, and like he sees her, he's like going. He's like, hey.
Just like, hi, how you doing?
He's like, looking at
you doing? Like my bike.
He's like, isn't this cute? And like I couldn't help but like then think that him and like Billy the Puppet need to start a little triker gang.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cute if they have like little jackets and everything.
Oh yeah,
and, like,
absolutely.
I don't know. I just think it'd be precious. But Vicky begins to run away from Art, finding any place to escape or any sign of her sister. She gets ambushed from behind by Art, and he starts to suffocate her by wrapping plastic over her face. Vicky does manage to break free and even buys herself a little time by grabbing a rusty nail on the floor and shoving it into Art's foot before running for it.
I have to say, I kept screaming the entire time when he was like suffocating her, like poke a hole through the
thing. Because her mouth's wide open, so she can just
It was just like saran wrap essentially that he was using. All you do is poke a hole through it and rip it open and you can breathe.
Yeah.
But she was like struggling for too long before she finally did that.
Yeah, it was like an uncomfortably long time of that. But she does break free, thankfully. Pissed off, Art flips her off before continuing to pursue her. I just thought it was funny because I'm like, okay. Like, pop off, dude.
So angry.
Still running, Vicky enters a room where she finds her sister dead and tied to a chair with the circus signs placed on her lap. She stops to mourn her sister and cries over her body, giving Art time to catch up to her. Art whips her with a cat o' nine tails, and it's cutting her up all over her body. And I had to look up what a cat o' nine tails was exactly, and it's defined as a multi-tailed whip or flail. And it looked like in this case more so like a flail because it's metal. So ow.
Yeah.
And he was he was going on. He's like,
he was doing it a lot.
So she got pretty beat up from that, but thankfully she is quickly saved by Mike, the pest control guy, when he knocks Art unconscious from behind, and the two make a run for it and call for the police. We then kind of get this moment where Mike has this like I don't know, it's like a conversation where I'm wondering if these two people are talking to each other, because Mike's over here panicking on the phone talking to the 911 operator, and the 911 operator is like, okay. And I understand like the need to be calm, But like, you know, and to be calm for the person who's like panicking on the other side of the line, but she's like, okay, is the killer still in the building?
She didn't sound calm necessarily. She sounded like she was bored.
Yeah, she just was like really bored, and I don't know, it was just funny.
Yeah. It reminds me of this like YouTube video I saw one time where like this girl was like, whatchamacallit, she got roped into doing this game show like from her TV, like they were calling her, and basically it was like if she got the questions wrong, she would like die. And so she calls the police, and like the whole entire time she's talking to the police, like they're just like unbothered. And then finally she realizes that the person she's talking to is the person in the TV. Is the person in the TV, and like they're like, but they sounded unbothered, but they were pretending to be the police. And they're like, because then the girl like goes, look at your television, when she's on the phone with the police, and then the curtain opens on the TV, and she's like, ha 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 ha, 911. So that's kind of what I thought was going to happen, was like maybe the 911 operator was working with Art, but that wasn't what happened.
Yeah.
Like Art had like a sister that was, you know, working at the
she's like, yeah, no problem, bro. I'll help you out. It's no biggie. Then after he gets off the phone call, because the 911 operator's like, okay, well, just like stay put and police are going to be there pretty soon. He's like, heck no, I'm going to take this girl to the hospital. You just need to get somebody down here to take care of this psychopath. And he hangs the phone up on her, which is like one of the most New York things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the way he handled that, it just reminded me of our family. So next up is they head to the next room, and they're trying to break the door open so they can get out and he can take her to the hospital. Obviously, Vicky is wounded, so she can't help when it comes to breaking the door open.
Yeah, she was very like out of it. She went into shock. Like,
yeah,
it was rough because she was beat up.
She was beat up. And so she's just kind of like standing off to the side, just like, you know, holding her arm, her leg, you know, whatever's been injured. And he's trying to break the door open, and of course, Art shows up. And so the guy, he turns around and he sees Art. Well, actually, no. First, Vicky sees Art and she alerts Mike that Art's there. And so Mike turns around, and I believe he like charges at Art.
Yeah.
And Art goes ahead, he picks up this like barrel and just bashes it into his head, and then just starts freaking stomping his head in.
He stomps the yard on his head.
It's like a whole step team out there. But yeah, he goes ahead, he stomps his head in. It's pretty gross, it's pretty nasty, it's pretty awesome. So now all of a sudden Vicky gained the strength of 10 Grinches that day, I guess. She's over here now, and like nothing hurts anymore. I mean, adrenaline, I understand.
Yeah.
And she's trying to break the door open. And she's able to get it open, and she runs outside. Art's still chasing her, and she runs into a garage that she's able to slip into. The garage is like chained shut, but not all the way. So she goes ahead, slides in. Art can't quite fit in. He's like reaching for her, but can't quite get
Starts
her.
Honking the little horn at her, which is hilarious.
He takes his hand back in to grab his horn, and he puts the hand in.
And he honks it at her, which I don't know what that was doing, but like, you know.
He was just laughing. I think he's just a sicko. Yeah, he's just like,
it was just so funny. Just honking this like clown horn at her. It was like so funny.
Like how he also keeps that thing on him at all times. So she's like kind of cowering away, but she's like, okay, I just gotta wait it out. The police gonna be here soon, you know, that kind of thing. You're kind of getting that feeling like, oh, the movie's ending, you know? And then she hears the police sirens, and she starts running over to the garage door again and peeking out through that opening. And you see a pickup truck come racing straight towards the door, and it's Art driving the pickup truck, and he runs her over. And Art takes that moment, he's jamming in the car. I think it's like, honestly, I think it's freeform jazz playing in the car.
Yeah, it is. It's like freeform jazz.
And he's just living his best life.
He's like, yeah, it's jazz.
He hops out the car and starts to look over Vicky's body for a minute, and it kind of feels weird. For a moment, it felt a bit intimate how he was looking at her.
Yeah.
But no, he's just a cannibal and just decides to eat her face.
Yeah.
Because Art don't care. He's coming for everyone's job. He coming for Michael. He coming for Jason. He coming for Leatherface. He don't care. And he got that thing on him.
He got that thing on him. He stay strapped.
Stay strapped. So, in that moment, the police do arrive. They walk in. They see Art feasting upon Vicky's face. It's clearly a horrifying scene to walk in on. And they're, of course, turn around with your hands up, that whole thing. So Art's got one hand in the air, and he's got the other hand going down to his sock. And what do you know? Art got his flap on him.
He stays strapped.
And he takes that thing out and he puts it in his own mouth, actually. And he unalives himself in that moment. I won't lie, the first time I watched this, I thought he was going to turn around and shoot them too, kind of like how he did. Yeah, so it was a little exactly crazy. What I was
expecting, and then when he did it to himself, I was like, oh, wow.
I was like, damn, Art really don't care at all.
He said, I did all the things. I'm good.
So now it's kind of like, let's see the quote resolution of the story pretty much. Because the killer is dead. The police do notice that somehow, some way, Vicky's alive. Yeah. Again, just like Cat Lady, Vicky, I would have just
end me.
Just put me down. Put me down.
Just end me.
But she's still alive. So we do cut over to Art being taken into the morgue. And we get some everyday mortician banter. They're kind of just talking about, bodies and their cholesterol levels. And
honestly, that was the weirdest looking morgue because it's just like a stone hallway that they're bringing him down. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe I've seen too many like Criminal Minds and or not NCIS. I don't watch that. Law and Order, where it's like the morgues don't look like that when they're taking the bodies down there. That just looked like they were in some sort of like dungeon.
Yeah, exactly. No, it didn't look sterile. That's for sure.
No,
it didn't look sterile at all. But also, this crew looks like they don't care. They don't get paid enough to care. They don't get paid enough to clean up.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what they could afford, was this dungeon thing. That's just kind of what they're rocking with, So after the mortician's team leaves, he is left alone and begins to assess Mike's body. His face is unrecognizable, and the mortician kind of glances over at where Art's body bag is and walks over to it and opens it up. Upon opening the bag, he sees that Art is smiling at him, and the lights in the room begin to flicker, and they flicker on and off for a minute, and then they come back on fully. And he looks back down at Art, and Art is just, I guess, alive again. And he starts suffocating the mortician to death.
Yeah.
And you would think that would be the end of the movie, but we do also get one more scene where Vicky is being released from the hospital. We only see her from behind as she is sitting in a wheelchair, and the doctor is talking about her recovery to who we can assume are her parents. They turn around to leave the hospital, and we see that Vicky is the victim that we saw in the talk show at the beginning of the movie.
Yes,
and that, my friends, is Terrifier.
Yes, we do. Also, it's important to mention that in the beginning of the movie, because we didn't talk about this, when Vicky is doing her interview, after she's doing her interview, we see the host talking with, like, on the phone to somebody, and talking about how disgusting Vicky looks, and, like, just kind of being really rude about it, when it's like this woman is like a victim of, like, obviously a horrible crime, and that's left her deformed.
Yeah, no, she's nasty.
And Vicky gouges her eyes out.
Yeah, which, like, pop off, Vicky. Yeah. Like, that woman was being nasty.
She was being really She gouges her eyes out and, like, laughs maniacally, and it's pretty
yeah,
sick.
It's like, honestly, it's a good for her moment. It is. It's a good for her moment.
I mean, I guess if you've been through all that and then you hear somebody making fun of you.
Like, well, listen, now you can join the club with me. Now your eyes gouged out.
Oh, she's dead now.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm just saying, I mean, Vicky survived.
Exactly. Vicky survived. Vicky's, no, she's not thriving.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, that's Terrifier. So, I mean, we kind of got your thoughts towards the beginning and everything as we were talking about, how you heard the movie's been hyped up and how it's been hyped up and everything, and you finally got to see it for yourself and everything. So, I'd like to come down to the important question of the day for me. How many skulls do you rate Terrifier?
I would probably rate it like 3.5 out of 5 skulls. Mostly because I spent the majority of the movie laughing, which is great.
Yeah,
which is great. It brought me a lot of joy. I did like it. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was gonna like it. I originally was like, with the way people talked about it, I kind of felt this way too about Evil Dead Rise, not just the like overhyped nature of Evil Dead Rise, because I did enjoy Evil Dead Rise, but there's like a scene with the cheese grater in Evil Dead Rise that people talked about so much when the movie was coming out, and then I saw that scene, I'm like, that was nothing. That was literally nothing. And just to tell you guys, she just takes the cheese grater and swipes it one time on someone's skin, and that's it. That's it. Like, people were making me think she sawed it down to the bone. That's what I was thinking. And I was like, oh, I can't, oh, it's gonna be disgusting. And then I watched it and I'm like, that's it? She just went, and she was like, oh, I can do that. And then, like, the girl kicked her in the head.
Which I'm happy I knew that before watching the movie, because I would have been viscerally disappointed, because I would have been waiting to see,
like, this really gory, like, that's what I was, well, the way people were talking about it, they're like, the cheese grater scene, and people still talking about it like that, and I'm like, what happened in that scene? Was there more to that scene that I missed? Because I was watching the screen, and I just saw her do it once, and then, like, she was like, oh, I can, like, she had that look on her face, like, oh, yeah, look at that, and then the girl kicked her in the face, and that was the end of it, and I'm like, oh, that was it? I thought they were gonna keep going. I thought it was gonna be like gorier, blood's gonna be flying everywhere. You're gonna see the woman's bone. Like, that's what I was thinking, but no. And that's kind of how I felt about this movie. Like, the gore was great. The gore was still there, but it was like the way people talked about it was like, y'all were talking about it like you like couldn't eat for like a month after you watched this movie. And I'm like, I've seen a lot of this stuff in other horror movies, like a lot of this violence in other horror movies. And I'm not saying that to knock Terrifier and say, oh, well, Terrifier is just like everything else out there. I think it's just because people, when they overhype things and they make it out to be like the thing is so disgusting. It's like, I understand everybody has their limits. Everybody has things that they can't watch. Like I said, I can't do like Hostel. Like I cannot watch that movie. Like, it makes me so sick. But that's because the gore is so realistic. It's way too realistic. And then the ball gag vomit scene. No. I'm good. It was all the Achilles heel scene. No. All of that was like, they could just leave that. Like, Eli Roth, you can take that back. I liked Cabin Fever. We'll stick with Cabin Fever. You can take Hostel back and just put it in a vault somewhere. But yeah, like, it's not to take it away from Terrifier or say like Terrifier is like stupid or anything like that, because Terrifier was a good time. It was funny to watch. I think the bad acting kind of, I don't like saying bad acting, because like now that I've seen them like in person, I'm like, I don't feel bad calling you guys bad actors, but like I don't want to call you that, but like at the same time I'm like,
I mean, there's like room to grow.
Yeah, there's room to grow.
But also, like, I feel like their acting level is what's needed for this particular movie.
Yeah, because it's not something you take necessarily seriously, and it reminded me of movies that I used to watch back in the day with my friends, where we would like be drinking and hanging out. And like, we would find bad horror movies on like Amazon where the acting was really cheesy. But I would say like, this wasn't a bad movie. Like, this wasn't a bad movie. Like, this was a good time. It was fun to watch. David Howard Thornton's acting is incredible. Like, he's a great actor, and I hope he can get to bigger levels but still be able to come back to Terrifier.
Absolutely.
Like, I know he was talking about he would love to play the Joker sometime, and I'm like,
his Joker impression is A1.
Yeah, it was really good. He did it at the panel, and I was like, yeah, it's really good. Even if they just got him to do some voiceover work, like, I think he could kill it. But yeah, no, I think he's a fantastic actor. He's probably the best out of all of them, because he's taking on a role where he has to be completely silent and only use his body. But
it's just improvisational acting.
Yeah, man, does he use his body. Like, he uses his body, he uses his face, he uses everything. So I definitely really appreciated this movie. I had a good time watching it. It's not one that I'm like, oh, I'll never watch it again. It was so terrible. Couldn't do it. It's fun. It's a good time. I only rated it 3.5 stars because I spent most of the time laughing rather than like ever being scared. Like, but I had a good time. Like, I really did. Like, I was laughing. I was like joking about it. I was like, this is a fun movie to watch. Like, this is a good one. So I'm definitely part of the Clown Protection Squad now.
And we stay strapped.
We stay strapped. We got the thing on us. That thing is a water bottle, but we got it on us.
We got it on us. Stay hydrated.
I think I already know what you're going to rate it, but go ahead and give us your skull rating.
Well, actually, I'm going to rate it 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5.
Oh, you thought I was going to do 5 out of 5?
Yeah. So we switched from same mods to this
same mod. Yeah. I mean, there's things that that I feel like could be improved on in the movie, of course. I guess really where I'm putting this as a 4 out of 5 between let me backtrack for a second here.
No, it's okay.
The reason why I'm giving this a 4 out of 5 is because I like Terrifier 2 more.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So it, in that way, because it showed it was able to improve upon itself.
Gotcha.
So there is something that is basically just like it out there, but better. And that's Terrifier 2.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, if we had done this movie before that one came out.
Yeah, then I would probably be like, 5 out of 5, this is so great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I would put it. 4
That's
out
the
of 5.
one that's the one I'm genuinely scared to watch. That's just based on people's reactions to it. I am genuinely like, I don't know if I'm gonna actually watch that one. I don't think I could do it.
We'll watch it together.
No, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could do it. People, and I know people who are like tough that are like, that movie made me nauseous. Like, I left that movie and I felt like I needed to lay down.
I think you're not giving yourself enough credit though.
I can't sit through Hostel. I get nauseous. I get nauseous the second they show them tied up in like the chairs. I'm like, nope, can't watch this. Like, because I watched it once with like a guy I was dating. Because he was like, oh yeah, I love this movie, and he sat down and watched it. I was like, I'm gonna throw up. Like, this movie's making me feel so sick right now. And like, I didn't get sick, but I felt like I was going to get sick the entire time. And I'm like, yeah, I know I've watched like Evil Dead and all that stuff, but Evil Dead is more campy to me, and even like the new ones, like they're more campy to me. Like the one that came out in 2013 messed me up, but it was not because of the gore. It was because of the girl's Jane Levy's acting. She scared the crap out of me. So everything else was like, I was like, yeah, the gore doesn't bother me. Like, oh yeah, the girl's like chewing on a piece of glass, and like it's gross, but like the only part I can't watch in that movie is when the guy pulls the glass out of his eye. That's the only part I can't watch because they do the close up on the eye, and I'm like, oh no, I don't need to see that close. I don't need to see that close. But like, yeah, the gore doesn't bother me. And even this new one, the Evil Dead Rise, like the gore was like, there were some parts that were like, oh yeah, it's kind of rough, but like for the most part, it was all par for the course. You know, it's all stuff I've already seen like 1,000,001 times. But the way people are talking about Terrifier 2, like there's people I know that are gore hounds that were like, I was not ready for this movie. I was not ready. Like I was in shock. My jaw was on the floor. I was like, they can't do that in movies. And I'm like,
they done did it.
I was like, I don't know if I can do that one, then. I don't know if I can do that one. You're like, I'm determined to get you to.
I mean, if you don't want to, I'm not going to force you to. You know, that takes away from the enjoyment of it. I don't know. I question. I think you could do it, but if you're not ready, then you're not ready.
Ready. I have to do some endurance training. I probably have to watch Terrifier 1 a few more times.
Okay.
And like watch a few other really gory movies a few more times to get myself prepared. Because like I said, I sat through the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake and was like,
meh. Yeah.
You know, I was like, that was gory. Everyone was like, oh yeah, blood, guts, and everywhere. I was like, yeah, it was gory, you know. Yeah, like I said, Evil Dead Rise sat in the theater. I only covered my eyes at the parts where people were vomiting. That was it. Other than that, I was like, oh, okay. Oh, there's shotguns, there's blood, there's this, there's organs, I think there's only like one. Oh, the only part I winced at was the very beginning when the girl ripped the other girl's scalp off. That was the only part I winced at. I was like, oh.
Okay, so that's something that you winced at.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably like one of the worst things that happens in Terrifier 2. So if you only winced at someone's scalp getting taken off.
Yeah. But everybody keeps talking about that bedroom scene.
That's where it is.
Oh yeah, because I read the description of the scene, so I know what happens in it, and I read it, and I was like, I would have to see it to know if I could handle it. Because reading it, I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty bad, but not something that's going to make me like pass out and throw up, like they said people were doing in the aisles. Of, like I feel like if I was watching, like I said, I don't get sick from watching movies. I'll get nauseated, but I'm not going to get sick. Like I don't think there's ever been a movie that's pushed me to that point. Like I'll get nauseous, I'll get uncomfortable, and I'll be like, oh, I don't like that. Yeah. But I'm not gonna be throwing up in like the bathroom or like passed out. If it makes me do that, then you know it's a wild movie.
That's a wild movie.
It's a wild movie. Like I just
only movie to make me do that is if there was ever a movie of my birth.
That's just the shaky cam movies that do it for me.
That as well. But yeah, that's Terrifier. That's Saint Maud for those who are listening and listen to both. If you listen to both, awesome, thank you for like marathoning with us again.
Yeah, no, we're giving you guys 2 episodes because, like I said, we didn't record for like a week, and even though it was nice, it was a nice break, it was a nice little breather. I was excited to get back to it. Yeah, I was excited to talk about some movies. Get the itch. Yeah, I was like, I almost forgot to watch Terrifier for this. I was like, it was like the day before we were going to the con, and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta watch that. I was like, oh wait, I gotta watch that before we go to this con because I'm not gonna have any other time this weekend to do it. So But I'm glad I did. I'm glad I finally saw it after like years, because literally like that has been like on my watch list. Like I have a list of movies that I used to have that was like all movies I wanted to see, and that's been on my watch list for literally years, long before Terrifier 2 went viral and everybody was talking about the movie. And I was just like, I saw the trailer, I forgot it was on a streaming service somewhere, and I saw the trailer on the streaming service, and I was like, that looks like it might be some fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll watch it. So, and I just never got around to it, because by the time I think I got the itch to watch it, it was gone from every streaming service.
Yeah, it was like scrubbed from everywhere pretty much.
And then I was happy when I found it on Tubi. I was like, oh, there it is. Look.
It is also on Peacock.
Oh, it's on Peacock now.
It was available on Amazon Prime. I don't know what's going on, because it's still like displaying itself on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you click on the the movie, it says currently unavailable. So I don't know if there's just some kind of licensing problem going on and they're trying to get that back up. But you can watch it on Tubi or Paramount Plus right now. Not Paramount Plus. So sorry, Peacock right now.
Peacock. Okay, cool. And Saint Maud is on Paramount Plus.
Yes, there we go.
If you want to watch Saint Maud, it's on Paramount Plus. I didn't say it at the end of the other video, but
it is also on Amazon Prime. That's where I watched it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I watched it on Paramount Plus.
So there we go. We kind of covered all bases.
Yeah, so they're both really good movies. If you like something that's a little bit more cerebral, Saint Maud might be up your alley. If you like something that's gory, fun, good time, blood-soaked good time, Terrifier might be for you. And if you like both, then watch both.
And
if you like neither, then why are you here? Just kidding. Thank you for watching, regardless if you're here, you like that stuff or not. They'll be like, I only like J horror, and I'm like, same. Oh my god, we gotta. Oh wait, I was about to say we gotta get more J horror movies. I realized next week is a J horror.
Next week is a J horror movie.
I was like, we gotta get more J horror movies. Oh wait, literally next week.
Yeah, we got it. Don't worry.
We're gonna get you. Yeah. I'm excited for this one. You want us to
let them know what we're doing next week?
We are doing the movie. It's actually an anime. It's called Perfect Blue, and I have heard so many good things about this movie. It's been out for a long time.
Yeah,
and I never heard of this movie till like 2 years ago. It was actually on WhatCulture.com, which is where I heard of a lot of the movies, and it's also where I heard about the hacksaw scene from this movie, from Terrifier. Was from there, because that was on one of their lists of like I don't know what list it was, or like the most shocking scenes of all time and stuff like that, or something like that. Like I was like,
it's a crazy concept. I think it's the concept that gets people.
The thought of where he starts cutting her.
We usually do that with men in movies and never with women.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel so. I think that's why.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no. I have been looking forward to watching Perfect Blue for a while. I'm really excited for this. I really don't know much about that movie, aside from the fact that it's a pop singer that leaves her career and then stuff starts to go sideways. Mm-hmm. That's all I know about the movie. I know nothing else. I'm interested in seeing where it goes. I love anime. Anime horror is like, please, yes, please, thank you. I love it. Like the Junji Ito series, I know a lot of people had a problem with it. I didn't care. I still loved it. I had a great time watching it. It was very weird and off-putting, and I enjoyed it. I think you'd like that series too. That anime. It's really good. They have one on Netflix and one on Crunchyroll. They're both different. They're not linear. There's some stories that connect, but it's mostly just like pieces of his like manga stories that they put on. Some of them are really, really cool, and some are like the imagery is just like grotesque and horrible to look at. Like they're the not to give it away, but there's like one, I forgot what it's called, but it's like it's just one where there's like, it's called something about ancestors. Okay. It's like something to do with ancestors, and I think you'll be shocked at the ending when they show what's going on with that, because it is wild. It's not gory, but it's just so weird looking. It's like, oh, what is that? Like, what is that? And then my girl Tomie. I love Tomie. Okay. She is a boss. She can't die. She can't die, and I won't spoil that either. But when you see what her body does, it's crazy. It's like, this girl can't die. Nothing you can do about this. Once you see Tomie, is game over. Okay. But yeah, there's some good ones. I'll lend you my Crunchyroll account at some point. You can watch it.
I think I have a Friends currently.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can. I was gonna say, yeah, because you can watch the one Junji Ito series on there, and then there's another one on Netflix. And like I said, people had problems with it because they're like, it's not like the manga, and I'm like, it's not, but like I still enjoyed it. Yeah, it was still like fun to watch, and I kind of had a crush on the guy with the lipstick in the one episode. He was kind of cute. I was like, okay, I see you walking through the street. But it was still cool. I still felt like it caught the essence of his story. So yeah, I love horror, anime, horror. So I'm really excited about Perfect Blue. Like, I'm hyped for that.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm hyped for that. So that'll be next week's episode. It'll be another in-person episode.
Yeah, it will be, because you're here for a little bit.
Here for a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here for a little bit. And then after that, we got our Pride movies.
Heck yeah, dude. We got a good lineup of Pride movies,
We got a good lineup.
I'm excited.
I'm especially excited for one of the ones you picked, and you know why. The best part is I don't even need to watch that movie.
No,
because I've seen it so many times. I know it inside and out. I can literally recite the movie from heart. So I'm super hyped for that one, because I love them. I'll probably watch it just because I love it so much. But I was like, I don't even need to, because I'm like,
yeah, I'm excited for it too. I mean, I figured, like, let me pick this one. I did it for 2 reasons, just really quick here. I picked it because I knew you would be ecstatic about it, and it's always important it's important, but it's also good for us to have content that we're excited to talk about and that we have a lot to say. Maybe not always, because then we get 2.5 hour episodes, but we'll work on that. You know, if people, and also let us know if you want shorter episodes or something.
I'm going to start trying to break up the episodes going forward. The only reason I wasn't doing it before is because it would take a long time for the videos to offload when I was editing them. But now that I found the right way to do it, and it doesn't take as long, like I can break things up now. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. But before it was like, it would take like 6 to 10 hours to bounce the video is technically what it's called, to bounce the video. It's like 6 to 10 hours, and I'm like, I can't sit there and do this with every single like segment. It takes forever.
It would take a lot of work. But now that
I've got a way to do it, I'm like, okay.
I think it would be good in some ways, unless if people like the long stuff, and we can always go back to the longer format. But you know,
we'll also be like going back to our regular format next week, where we do the news and the random stuff. Next week we'll be going back to that. Because we'll only be doing 1 movie per episode. This was just one of those rare times where we couldn't do all of that in one. Otherwise, it'd be like a 6-hour episode. We'd be here all day, all night.
It was just like a super busy couple of weeks, and you know, we had to get you here, and
then we had the con. You know, I went to Universal yesterday.
Yeah.
Still sore. So there was a lot of stuff going on, and then we work. So we gotta go to work. Gotta make
also full-time jobs.
Exactly. So exactly. So next week we will be back to our usual format. We'll be back to posting on social media. We'll be back to all of that fun stuff. Having fun, getting prepared for our next few movies, getting prepared for Pride Month. Spooky Pride Month, and hopefully going to another con too.
Yeah, we're gonna see if we can make that one happen for sure.
Try to make that one happen. We'll see. But yes, but thank you guys so much again for listening to today's episode.
If you like what you hear and are afraid to miss an episode, you can catch us every Wednesday at noon over on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you choose to listen.
Catch up with us over on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Dial H for Horror Podcast, and feel free to check out our Patreon for exclusive content under the same name. Once again, I've been Shay.
And I've been Gina.
Be safe out there, and we'll see you all in the next episode.
Stay spooky.